Hello guys, it is Gate of Theories here, and if you're a Dumping Ground fan, well, it has been an emotional rollercoaster over the last few months. Jodie, Bird, Maylee, and Candy Rose have all left with a whole new cast replacing them. And with all this drama, it makes me wonder whether the Dumping Ground is even the Dumping Ground anymore, or has it just ended? Prepare yourselves guys, because we are diving into Tracy Beaker lore today, and let me tell you, it's more complicated than the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. Let's get into it, but before we go any further, please make sure that you've clicked that red subscribe button down below and have your notifications turned on so that you get notified every time we make any brand new Dumping Ground videos. So, in literal terms, the show has not ended. We've still got all of Series 10B to go through, but currently, Series 11 hasn't been confirmed yet, and with cbbc in a few years going straight to streaming, we might not even get a Series 11 at this rate. The good thing is about the Dumping Ground is it can regenerate itself so easily. Every time a character leaves, a new one can come in, and we've seen this with the kids and the care workers, and even the care home itself. Like, this show just can go on forever, technically. In fact, now that Jodie has left, it means that the cast from the first episode of the Dumping Ground is a completely different cast to what it is now. But the way how I see it is that the Dumping Ground that is related to Tracy Beaker has now ended, but the new Dumping Ground that isn't related to Tracy Beaker hasn't. Now let me explain. The whole franchise of the story of Tracy Beaker Returns, The Dumping Ground, My Mum Tracy Beaker, The Beaker Girls is literally called the Tracy Beaker franchise because every show and storyline relates to our central character, Tracy Beaker, and is derived from the Tracy Beaker books by Jacqueline Wilson with some inspirations from her other books as well. The story of Tracy Beaker is centered around Tracy as a kid. Tracy Beaker Returns is centered around Tracy as an adult starting to work. My Mum Tracy Beaker is centered around Tracy as a mum but also falling in love. And The Beaker Girls is centered around Tracy and her relationship with her daughter. I won't be surprised if the next installment is My Grandma Tracy Beaker or something like that. All of these shows we'd say are definitely canon to the franchise as all relate to that central pillar that is Tracy Beaker. The Dumping Ground is slightly different however, with it being a spin-off show. It is canon to the franchise purely because it uses lots of the characters from the main Tracy Beaker shows but looks at their stories instead. However, Tracy Beaker is still very much present in all of this. She is mentioned constantly in the early series of the Dumping Ground. Most of the characters have met her. Her legacy is shown through photographs and the Peter Pan book that is passed down, and she actually appears in the Dumping Ground in Series 6 for Mike's wedding. The Dumping Ground is a spin-off show like the Sarah Jane Adventures that also aired on cbbc, which looks at Sarah Jane from Doctor Who, but is still definitely canon to the Doctor Who universe, as she faces the same enemies at times. She mentions the Doctor and the main show constantly throughout, and the Doctor appears in the Sarah Jane Adventures twice, with the Sarah Jane Adventures appearing in Doctor Who several times as well. There is a clear connection between the shows and therefore you class them as canon. However, with everyone leaving in the Dumping Ground now, the connection to Tracy Beaker is becoming less and less, and is now practically non-existent. You can still trace the latest series of the Dumping Ground back to Tracy Beaker, but you could also say now it isn't canon to the franchise because it has nothing to do with her. You could potentially say that as soon as Jodie left, the Dumping Ground did practically end. And I know Floss and Jay have also technically met Tracy as well, but they are likely to be leaving in 10B as well, so once they've gone, does that mean that the Dumping Ground as part of the Tracy Beaker franchise has ended and a new completely different show still called the Dumping Ground with just the same characters has taken its place? There are many examples of this happening in lots of TV shows. The biggest one is probably Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was a spin-off to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the early phases. Season 1 was very much canon because it had Nick Fury, Maria Hill, and Agent Coulson, all who had appeared in the movies. But by Series 6 and 7, people were classing it as not canon to the MCU because the movies didn't actually acknowledge it, the show had basically lost Agent Coulson as its main character, and the only thing that really connected it to Marvel was S.H.I.E.L.D. itself, but that wasn't really enough for people. People considered from Season 1 to Season 5 as canon to the MCU, but afterwards, Series 6 and 7 not canon, and that they didn't actually happen in the same universe that, for example, the films Endgame and Infinity War took place in. It's kind of similar here, with all these characters leaving and that connection to Tracy Beaker, the main pillar of this franchise, disappearing. Does that mean that the dumping ground did actually end, and everything we've been watching recently doesn't actually happen in the same universe that the whole Tracy Beaker franchise happened in? Not to mention, the Tracy Beaker franchise has moved on from the dumping ground to instead My Mum Tracy Beaker and the Beaker Girls, and in both these shows, the dumping ground as it is currently not acknowledged at all. The story of Tracy Beaker is, Tracy Beaker Returns is, but the dumping ground isn't. Now, you could argue that My Mum Tracy Beaker and the Beaker Girls isn't canon either and is separate because there's a lot of inconsistencies, and if you want to see a whole video on that, you can do so by clicking the card. But either way, both of them shows have Tracy in. The dumping ground doesn't. You could even say the dumping ground ended when Mike left at the end of Series 7, because while they were filming Series 8, cbbc was also filming My Mum Tracy Beaker. Does that mean that Series 8, 9, and 10 are all not canon anymore and are instead part of a new dumping ground franchise by itself that has nothing to do with Tracy Beaker? If you think about it, most people who I've talked to about the dumping ground say this show went downhill as soon as Mike left, and Mike was someone who had the biggest connection to Tracy Beaker herself, and that Series 8, 9, and 10 have all just felt really off. Maybe it's because they're not actually part of the franchise anymore? Remember all of those big finales that would relate to the whole timeline. Series 5 mentioning characters from the story of Tracy Beaker and Tracy Beaker Returns who are going to donate to save the dumping ground. Series 2 bringing back Liam, who is a vital connection to Tracy. Series 7 having Mike hear Tracy's voice.
Mike, fuck off.
And like we've said, Series 6 actually having Tracy back. The only time that this has kind of happened recently was the finale of 8A with Elektra returning, but you could just say that is because of the dumping ground and nothing to do with Tracy Beaker. Now, this could all change if in 10B we suddenly see Jess Beaker appear, or if in the Beaker Girls Series 2 they go and visit Ashton Ridge and this reconnects the dumping ground back to the franchise. Now, at the end of the day, this doesn't really matter. Getting into the Tracy Beaker lore is my job, and you guys can take what you want from it. But I'm really interested to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you think that because these vital characters like Jodie, like Mei Lee have left in Series 10, that it now means that the dumping ground has basically ended and that it will carry on as a whole new thing with a new cast that has no connection to Tracy Beaker whatsoever? I mean, Bonnie didn't even know who Tyler was, and he appeared in the episode before she appears in. But anyway guys, that's the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure that you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Guys, let me know down below in the comments, what do you think about this? Do you reckon that the dumping ground has basically ended and is now just a whole new thing that has nothing to do with Tracy Beaker? Or do you reckon that it still has some connection to those original Tracy Beaker shows that we all grew up to love? And what did you guys think of these surprise exits? Jodie leaving, Bird leaving, Mei Lee, Candy Rose. What do you guys think about them? Which one was your favourite? Which one did you cry at the most? Let me know all your thoughts down there. And as always, we've been here on Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.